Trader Cobb Crypto Podcast. This is the Trader Cobb Crypto Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Trader Cobb Crypto Show. Guys, don't forget this program is brought to you by tradercobb.com, where you can go across there, join up to the free subscription service, and learn everything you need to learn about crypto trading and the greater community of blockchain. We've got an amazing guest with us today. It's Saud AlSheraihi, and Saud is the GM of Business Development at Saudi Telecom Company and has a very interesting perspective. I've spoken to a couple of people now. This is the second within the within the kingdom to work out, what's going on there. So it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the show, mate. Thanks very much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
If you wouldn't mind, I've done your introduction an absolute dog's breakfast, so to speak. If you wouldn't mind introducing yourself a little bit there, Saud, and telling us a bit about what you do and where you're at the moment.
Yeah, sure. So I'm handling the business development in the enterprise sector in Saudi Telecom. And the way that we do it is actually by digitizing certain businesses. So we go up in the value chain when it comes to different sectors such as education, healthcare, financial, oil and gas, etc. So by doing that, we utilize lots of technologies that are available at the moment. Typically, we look at more futuristic kind of technologies such as machine learning and, of course, and definitely blockchain is one of them.
Okay, so it seems that it's obviously at the forefront of a great deal of industries. We're very aware of that. Most of the listeners are relatively aware that blockchain is beyond Bitcoin now. It's created by Bitcoin, but there are lots of other companies and different industries that are really sort of grabbing a hold of this technology and working with it. Could you sort of elaborate a little bit on why the telco community, especially, you can speak certainly from the Saudi Telecom Company's point of view, but how telco and blockchain can come together and have a positive outcome? Yeah,
sure. Well, as you may know, telco, have been working in the technology space for a very long time. And many of the telcos, they have huge assets that can help in accelerating the adoption and the implementation, if you will, of blockchain. So giving the infrastructure that we have, such as the connectivity, the data centers that we have, and any services that are on top of that, such as the cybersecurity, storage, you name it. So having those kind of assets will help us accelerate any deployment for blockchain.
So give us an example. So, for with a bank, for example, the way that we sort of can understand how a bank would use the blockchain is clearing trades. For example, you can send assets very, very quickly. Things can happen very, very quickly when we look at a financial instrument. How's telco? It may be very similar. It may be exactly the same. But how is the telco industry looking to implement blockchain in a practical example base?
So when it comes to examples, there are lots of examples. One of them, as you just mentioned, in the financial sector. So when typically blockchain is required or needed is basically when there is a bit of less or no trust between parties. So clearing houses is a very good example. So if both parties, they rely on blockchain to settle any kind of, trade between them, this will make sure that the transactions between both parties will become very faster and it will be more trusted because it's all encrypted and it's all, based on smart contracts and based on the underlying functionalities of blockchain.
Okay, well, that makes sense. So it's a similar type of function, essentially, what you're saying to the banking. No, that sounds good. Now, one thing I find interesting with the telcos getting here, obviously they are at the forefront of technology for the most part, and as most sectors need to be really in today's modern day and age. If you're not up with technology and looking to explore different areas in your business, you're probably going backwards very, very quickly. A prime example of this has been the absolute dominance of Uber, of many of the world's taxi businesses, in the sense that if you let yourself not develop with technology, you will eventually have technology beat you. So I can understand why the telcos are there, as I can understand why many other business applications are there. Is this something that Saudi Telecom Company has been involved in for quite some time, or is it something recent? And if it's something recent, if it is something that's been recent, like in the last sort of 12 months or so, why is it that now is the time that you're getting involved and not earlier?
Well, it's actually, I mean, the short answer is it's a bit recent. And one of the main reasons is that, we are waiting for the technology to be a bit mature. And we are going through an assessment where we want to know exactly where we want to go, what kind of industries that we want to target. And we've been going through a lot of assessment. So yes, it's a bit recent. However, the discussions that we are going through is a bit, it has been there for a while.
Okay, so the talk, I suppose what we've also needed to see is, if you had been getting in the very early days, that there was a perceived risk there as to will this be around, will it take off, will there be enough of a community there to continue to build on the block and create things. We're seeing that is there now, and I've spoken to a lot of people all around the world that are very heavily involved in the creation of an application of the blockchain. And none of these people seem to have any viewpoint that this is going to disappear, as well as the SEC. There's some text out there now saying that this could potentially be a financial miracle, to quote from that passage of text. Now, one of the things that I find fascinating is that as this space grows and develops, we do see different sectors coming in, and it's usually around the trust area that most businesses are excited. And obviously, we've already covered the clearing side of it as far as clearing trades from one like a borderless transaction. What's for Saudi Telecom Company? What's the real we've talked about certain things like, as I say, the clearing trades across borders, but is there more that you guys are looking at? Is there more that you want to do? Is it targeting businesses? Is it targeting individuals? Does it help you grow a market? What areas beyond just the settlement of transactions, if any, are you guys excited about within the blockchain space?
Well, there are a lot of things that we're thinking about at the moment, Craig. Just before, going to that, I want to categorize a little bit just for the audience to understand better. There are three levels, if you will. You can store data, digital records, for example. Okay, this is where you use blockchain, for example. So to store digital records, as an example, in healthcare space, storing the health information system or the health record of the patient is one of the applications that are available at the moment. And there are some companies that work into that space to make sure that they put it on blockchain. And the second level is the exchanging of digital assets. I've been listening to your discussion with Chris, I think, DeRosa, right?
Yep.
And you discussed that, and I agree with you, it's beyond Bitcoin. When you say a blockchain by itself, you can use it for digitizing or tokenizing assets. So making sure that you exchange those assets, making sure that you manage them, the ownership, the whole history behind that asset is an application by itself that can really add huge value. And one of the examples that comes to mind when you say digital assets is the real estate. So you can imagine having, for example, a house which is virtually, digitized or tokenized house, and you can know all the history. If there is anything that has happened to that home or that house that you're buying, it's already on blockchain, it's already trusted, and you know exactly what happened throughout the years. So you can manage the life cycle of that asset in a better way. And the third, or the last but not least, is the execution of smart contracts. So if you have any trade between two companies where you can automate the contracts, this can really, relieve a lot of burden to lots of companies.
I really like that view, the analogy you gave about the property, because it is an investment and it's difficult. My dad's a builder, so I'm from a background of looking at houses, building houses, that sort of thing. So I also know a lot of investors in property that go in and buy a property, and they say, you hear the horror stories. Oh, we didn't know about this, we didn't know about that, and we had to put in 50 grand for this and 100 grand for that. And this is an investment that they've made. Now, whether it be a home or an investment, I'm talking more about the investment as you brought that up. It's really important to know these things because they can massively influence your decision if you are aware. How many times have you heard about people buying a lemon, buying a bad house, buying a bad investment? Now, the information, had they have been able to have access to it, they would have gone, well, we want to knock the price down by $60,000 because it's going to cost us that just to repair this. People don't know enough information about these asset classes. And I think that's a really, really great example that you just brought up there, mate. So I really thank you for that. So basically, there are 3 different areas, and you sort of covered on those as far as the use cases go. Now, I'd like to, if you don't mind, just jump across into the vision for Saudi Arabia, because I know I spoke with a senior scientist and the head of the epidemiology research at one of the hospitals there, Yasmin, who I spoke to in New York, who I touched on earlier. So I know that, I got really excited speaking to her because it was really an eye-opener as to how forward-thinking Saudi Arabia is becoming, not just to blockchain, but also, we are seeing a massive change and shift in the attitudes of the humans there. Now, that's exciting for me, and it's exciting for investors because there's a lot of money in that place, a lot of very big brains, and they're very quick to adapt. I really like seeing how they do business. Now, could you tell us a little bit about what you think and what you know of the vision of Saudi Arabia, not just in blockchain, but just going forward?
Well, the vision we've been really blessed by having great leadership in Saudi that sets a vision for us, which, where all the businesses and all the whole country is going towards. So the vision is, the purpose or the main purpose of the vision is to, of course, put our Saudi Arabia in the forefront when it comes to global economy. To be one of the leaders, if you will. So, and the vision is built around 3 main themes, which is a vibrant society, thriving economy, and ambitious nation. And thriving economy, of course, one of the pillars under that is to attract more businesses and attract more, investments to Saudi and making it very, very attractive. And in order to achieve that vision, there are multiple programs that are under that. And I'll just touch point on one of them, which is the Financial Sector Development Program, because it's a little bit related to what we discussed on blockchain. Because under the Financial Sector Program, there is a plan and there are targets to even have, for example, fintech company. And we are expecting those kind of companies in fintech space to be built or at least use or utilize a little bit of latest technologies such as blockchain.
So it's when we look at what you're doing, the country is moving forward. Is blockchain? Do you see? Obviously, everybody knows that Saudi right now it's a massive oil producer. A lot of the wealth has come from oil. Are you trying to shift away from that? Is that the objective for moving towards technology?
It's one of the main objectives of the vision is actually to shift and reduce the reliance on oil. In order for us to be more competitive globally, of course, we have to do that.
Absolutely. I think that's what makes it so exciting. Definitely from my point of view, is that there is a huge reliance on that from what I understand at the moment. Now, the world needs to shift away from that. It's very clear. It's very apparent. And we're seeing so much more development in the renewable energy space. Now, a lot of places are still fighting it. A lot of companies are still fighting it because, big tankers take time to turn, but they are going to need to turn as the world desires more renewable, and we try and make sure that we have a planet to live on. So it's really fascinating. We saw what happened in Dubai, for example, whereby it went from a desert and oil producer, it transformed itself into a completely different sphere of doing business, and the economy changed drastically. I'm really excited and looking forward to seeing what Saudi Arabia has to do going forward, because like I say, that there's a lot of people, a lot of very smart people, and you've been very, very savvy with your transactions in business so far. It just so happens to be that oil has been your major export, potentially technology and financial services is to be the next one.
Yeah.
Mate, is there anything else that you think you'd like to add to us about what Saudi Telecom Company is doing within the space that we may have overlooked?
Well, Saudi Telecom is the largest, I would say, telco operator in the MENA region. And we have subsidiaries across multiple countries within the Middle East, mainly. And we are also working in multiple areas. I mean, we are expanding beyond the telco services. So one of the things that we are having in the latest strategy that we have in Saudi Telecom is that we are moving towards more of a media space as well as the financial sector space as well. So those are very interesting for us, very interesting, I would say, sectors that we are targeting at the moment. And I believe that this will help both the company and the whole country as well.
Well, it sounds to me that, Saud, you're very much at the forefront, not just for the Saudi Telecom Company, but also for Saudi Arabia as the country looks to move forward and develop. What you said, the strategy for Saudi Telecom Company sounds very much in line with the rest of the country. It's a very, very exciting time to be around, not just for Saudi Arabia, but for the whole world that is plugged into and understands or is learning to understand this blockchain and extension of the internet. Mate, where would the listeners find out more information about you, the projects you're working on, and also the Greater Saudi plan moving forward? If you could help them out, that'd be really much appreciated.
Well, I mean, they can find me at LinkedIn, Saud Al-Sheraihi, and I'm posting a lot of things about either blockchain and IoT as well. And vision2030.gov.sa, where they can find all what they need about the vision and the programs.
Excellent. Well, I thank you so much for your time today, Saud. It was an absolute pleasure having a chat with you. I wish you all the best going forward, and we'll speak again down the track.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Guys, don't forget this show is brought to you by TraderCobb.com, where you can jump across there and get a hold of all your trading education needs in the crypto space. Have a great day. Bye.
The Trader Cobb Crypto Podcast. Check out TraderCobb.com because experience matters.